The Short Game is listener-supported on Patreon. If you'd like to support the show and join us on our Discord, head to theshortgame.net or patreon.com/theshortgame.
Welcome back to The Short Game. This is a show about short video games, games that respect your time. I'm Reagan Kelly, and I'm joined this week by two fine co-hosts.
Nate Heininger.
And Mixmaster Shane.
Was that where's that coming from? Was there a reason for that, Mixmaster Shane?
No, just you said to bring like a fun energy to the podcast, and I was trying to do that.
It's fun. That was fun. I had fun.
Okay. Fun energy. I can roll with that. Mixmaster Shane is here to talk about.
You can just call me Shane, though. I mean, we don't have to be formal.
What, Mixmaster?
This is the best opening to an episode we've ever had.
We're talking this week about a game called Shotgun King. Shane, you were the one that brought this to my attention. I had never heard of it when you mentioned it last week. So maybe you could tell me a little bit about what is Shotgun King.
Sure. So Shotgun King. So first off, like this is one of the games that I discovered through TikTok, which lately that's becoming more and more of how I'm discovering cool games. Maybe that says something about me as a person, but I really do think that as a platform, TikTok, like it's a great way to like, if the TikTok algorithm decides that you want to see cool indie games, it's gonna just like show you a ton of them.
How do I get it to show me like that instead of just like bad cooking videos and like I don't know memes? Like I don't use TikTok that much, but it's really not been showing me anything interesting.
The first step is you're not using TikTok that much because the algorithm is a idiot savant. It needs the signal from you. And then have you literally tried searching on TikTok? There is a search bar.
Yeah, I know I don't use TikTok that much because as Shane and I discovered like a week ago, I went into TikTok for the first time in probably 3 months because I don't really use that app like at all. And I found that for literally months, Shane had been using the like DM feature on TikTok to send me funny TikToks that he found.
Yeah.
And there was a backlog of like hours of TikTok videos that Shane had sent me. And I was like, what's the deal, Shane? You've just been sending me these? I have notifications off for TikTok. And he was like, I thought you were just being aloof.
Well, I engaged with TikTok like a real adult, which is through shared stories on Instagram. So I also never see any of the cool video game stuff. It's mostly just memes.
I
but
occasionally
cool.
get retro game stuff on TikTok, so it's got me figured out that much.
Yeah,
but I never see cool indie games on there.
It also like picks up on stuff that if you are friends with someone, it will inherently assume you want to see the same shit. So as soon as Reagan got on TikTok, I started seeing videos of people like disassembling electronics
and reassembling giant furry costumes.
Their algorithm does have some merit.
Yes. The thing though that I think like is it makes this game successful, watch this segue, is the same thing that makes a great TikTok successful.
Ooh,
and
good
that
segue.
is just having a really strong, simple concept that can be conveyed like in a single minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, the mix master at work. Good segue.
That's right. The faders are flying. The concept with the game Shotgun King is basically shotgun chess. In this game, it plays very much like regular chess on a regular chessboard, with one big exception, which is that on your side, the black side, there is only one piece, and that is the king. And the king is, instead of only moving one square, the king can move one square and fire a shotgun. and at the opponent.
This is a brilliant concept that as soon as it was explained to me, I was like, why hasn't anyone made this before? This was an inevitable game. This is a brilliant, inevitable design.
I actually really think that there's a thing you can do when you're making a design, which is you can hook into things that already resonate with your players, right? Things that they already know. And something as fundamental and foundational as chess is very, very effective to hook into. And I would compare this game, but by the way, I didn't explain, like, this is also a roguelike with like card elements. So like there's a little more going on than in that initial pitch, but like that's basically it. Having something that is incredibly resonant for your players and fits into that initial pitch is exactly how you want to make this kind of a game. And like I would compare this to a very similar game that I love called Hoplite that never really did that. It was successful, but it wasn't as resonant as this. Did either of you guys play Hoplite?
I did play
at your insistence. I played Hoplite, and I never grokked it.
Sure. Well, Hoplite was Nate. Did you play it?
I did. I will say I don't remember a lot about it, but I played it for sure.
Well, it's a lot like this in that it was a instead of a shotgun, it was a spear. And it was played on a hexagonal grid, but it in a lot of ways it's very, very similar. But the theming there was around like a soldier going through the underworld or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and
you were going down levels every time.
Yeah. Like so much of a game that is this kind of like, careful positioning based roguelike, right? Like that one also was, is based around learning like the enemy movement and attacks. Like every roguelike has a big element of like learning the enemy movement and attacks. And this game, everyone who plays most likely already starts the game knowing how every piece moves and attacks.
That's actually a really good point. I mean, I was kind of thinking about like, most people sort of understand what chess piece moves are, but like when you put it that way, that makes a lot of sense. Like there's a lot of learning involved in learning the movements of enemies in games that you just short circuit right past here. You're immediately playing the game. The only thing you need to learn is like when do they move and how do you shoot the shotgun, and then you're in.
Yeah, and they also mess with it a lot too, in that like the chess pieces all do what they are, what you know them to do, right? Other than there are cards that may impact their the way that they move, but for the most part, they, at least as you start the game, they move the way you're expecting them to. But the amount and the organization of those chess pieces are very, very different. You, especially if you end up winning, you might have a board that starts out with you as the single black king, and the other side of the board has 2 rows of pawns, 3 rooks, 2 queens, 3 knights. It can be a complete mess. And even if you're someone who is really familiar with chess and really good at chess, you have to read the board in an entirely new way that is entirely unlike chess. And so it's a good spin on it where, yes, like your ability, your chess knowledge is useful because you know what they likely can do, but the play is so unlike chess that there's not a lot of actual crossover as far as any skill from chess, which I actually think is good, because this game, I think, isn't trying to be like, oh, you like chess, then you'll like Shotgun King. It's more like, oh, you're familiar with chess and you want to blast away all of the other chess pieces with a giant shotgun. And it doesn't actually matter if you know the intricacies and getting people into checkmate or anything like that. You don't need to know any of that. You just have to be able to avoid getting hit and get a little lucky with your shotgun blast sometimes, because there is some RNG in this. And it's super I think super accessible, more accessible than actually chess probably is, as long as you're into games like this. It is a roguelike. Like you said, there's a whole stat block element to it. There's some RNG. It's pretty tough. But again, not in the way that chess is tough.
When you say, like, will this appeal to chess players, like, there's a certain resonance here that this will appeal, maybe not to the savvy chess player, but this will very much appeal to the person who has ever felt that inside impulse to flip over the chessboard. Because this is the shotgun is it's a broom. It just, like, sweeps the pieces out of your way. I mean, they have like some HP and whatnot, and I do think it, like what you mentioned there about it being having some RNG to the damage is interesting, because that is the part of it that took me a little bit of the longest to wrap my head around.
Yeah.
Talk about how the shotgun works, because obviously we don't need to explain how a knight moves to our audience, but we might need to explain how a digital shotgun works.
Yeah. So every time you have a turn, and it does alternate, you go, then they go, then you go, and they go. And there are cards that mess with that, but again, for the most part, it's that. And on your turn, you can either fire your shotgun or you can move. And helpful hint, if you didn't know this, so your shotgun has to be loaded. This game doesn't do a great job of tutorializing, but if you're playing this and your shotgun is unloaded, just moving will reload it. But if you actually don't want to move, you can click on the shotgun at the top and it will reload it for you. I don't know if you.
Oh no!
I don't know if
knew
you.
that.
I know.
Dang.
I didn't. It took me forever to realize that, and it's very helpful, because sometimes you're in the spot that you want to be in, but if you have to reload, you'd have to move and then move back, and it can mess everything up. So anyway, on your turn, you can either move, which also reloads your shotgun, or you can fire. Sometimes you can fire multiple times, again, depending on your on your cards. Your shotgun has a couple stats. One is its firepower. And what that means, it starts at 4. And when you aim your shotgun, you get a little UI, or a little heads up display element that shows an arc. And just like a shotgun, if you are only aiming like right in front of you, the arc is really narrow. And if you spread it across through the whole chessboard, it gets really, really wide. And your firepower is how many pellets are going to fire from your shotgun. And if, let's say, your firepower is 4, then if you have a really wide spread, you don't know how those 4 are going to hit. It could hit, if there are 4 enemy chess pieces in the range of that arc, it could do 1 on all of them. It could do 2 on 2 of them. However you want to cut it and slice it, you get it 4 across those, across that huge arc. Or if you do it where everything is, your arc is just on one single spot, then you're going to hit them with the full firepower. And there are cards, every time you clear a stage or a floor, you pick a card, and you pick a card that improves you and also improves white. So there's kind of an interesting balance there. And a lot of the cards are things like +1 firepower. And then for you, and then for white, it's like add 1 rook, add 1 bishop, add 1 knight, and generally speaking, you're looking to improve firepower and range, which dictates how far you actually can, how far that arc will actually be effective. So there's a little bit of luck to it, because if you're aiming downwind and there's something you're really trying to kill, but the arc is huge, you have no idea if you're actually going to get it or not. So there's this sort of balance of like early game, you're kind of getting in range and just unloading, trying to take out as many as you can while it's a huge wall of enemies. And then it becomes this sort of interplay of there's a lot of enemy pieces. I was playing a game just before we recorded where they had 5 knights, and that gets incredibly intricate on where they can go. And if you end your turn where one of the enemies can hit you, it's game over. And that's just if you end your turn, you like move into a spot where someone could get you, or like you reload and you didn't realize that something was going to hit you. It's one hit kill. And the thing that got me the most, though, before I really like slowed down on this game, which is my biggest advice, is like slow down, because outside of the RNG, everything is on the screen. It's a turn-based game. Like, what's going to happen. You can avoid most things if you really take your time with it. But if you kill, let's say, like a pawn, and behind it was a rook, that goes in a straight line, when you kill that pawn, you've now exposed the rook, and it's going to go straight down the line and kill you. Which again is completely unlike.
One of the things that got me like most of the time that I died in this. Although there were also definitely times, I think, where I just sort of, I feel like I didn't have I maybe jumping ahead a little bit, but like obviously Nate like kicked this game's ass, whereas I had a really, really hard time with it. I didn't get very far. It being a roguelike, I played it a number of times, but I didn't make a ton of progress. I kept kind of wiping out fairly early. And I think I had a poor understanding of how the game handles HP and like how to tell when I shot something, whether it was going to die this turn or next. Do you have any tips there? Because I felt like something about that element of the game was constantly tripping me up. I was like, okay, I can shoot this guy once, and then I'd empty my shotgun 3 times and it wasn't dead, that kind of thing.
It's all that RNG. Like, if it's the little arc, the bullets are going to spread out from there. So unless you are directly next to them, and you have the entirety of the arc is centered on exactly one guy, it's possible that you get a bad roll, essentially, and some of the pellets or whatever, shotgun bullets, I don't know what you call things from inside of a shotgun.
Buckshot.
Okay.
I know that because I am a gun expert.
Yeah. Behind Reagan right now is like that scene from Tremors, where they have like the whole wall of guns.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeehaw.
I ran into that a lot as well, Reagan, where you'd be like, oh, this guy has 3 HP, I'll be fine. And you point the gun at him and it only takes 2. And it really is just a luck of the draw, unless you have that. If your arc is even off a little bit, there's a possibility that you'll miss, which I think is the intent, to add some element of this game that isn't 100% predictable, because otherwise there would I think this would be a type of game that you could win 100% of the time, and they want some degree of randomness in it. That's my only thought too, because I ran into that a lot as well, especially early on, until I really got it and started to strategize around the fact that like I might not kill the thing when I think I'm going to kill it, because I might just get unlucky.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's kind of at play here also is the fact that this is a video game shotgun. Like the I've talked about this on the podcast before, but there's a problem with video game shotguns, and in fact, I think video game shotguns are making real shotguns look bad, because in most video games they want you to like be using a rifle or a pistol, right? And so they make, the pistol is going to be for close range headshots and the rifle is going to be for long range headshots. And so what's the shotgun for? Well, it's kind of a medium range, and if you spray and pray, and if you try and shoot something that's too far away, it's going to be hitting them with wet confetti, right? And like a real shotgun has enormous range and tremendous knockdown ability.
Yeah, there's a reason that people use shotguns to shoot down birds.
Yeah,
like
yeah, like in a video game, if you were trying to shoot down, like, I don't know, some space drone or whatever that's flying over your head, and you pull out the shotgun, it's probably not going to be as effective as the pistol, but because they fire off like a handful of tiny pellets that go randomly in a cone, which, the cone is accurate to real shotguns. This is a bit of a rant, but it is just something that's funny, and once you see it in video games, it's everywhere.
I know how much you care about accurate representation of guns in video games, so I'm glad that Shotgun King is the game that you can finally get this off your chest.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Time to really complain about the gun physics in chess.
When I shoot this shotgun, it should leave holes in the board.
Well, your point is valid, Shane, but it's also like
I just think it is back to the idea of like what resonates with people playing video games, because we have the chess element, and now here we have this shotgun that is specifically for people who like shotguns in video games. So like it's gonna play out like that. It's gonna fire off a irregular spray of damage that's gonna ping into things, and if you hit things at range, things are gonna start getting real dicey.
But it can also be like, this game gets really satisfying once you get into the later levels. And I had a game where my assortment of cards left me with the shotgun had 11 power, and it starts at 4, so I had accrued a lot of firepower, and just like almost 2 complete rows of pawns, and I could basically just, for the first 2 or 3 moves of the game, just unload the shotgun from 5 spaces back and just punch huge holes through the wall of pawns, and even get to the king right out of the gates. And it was really fun, and definitely that is sort of that, like you were talking about wanting to flip over a chessboard. Like, I do play a fair amount of chess. I'm not very good at it, but I do play a fair amount of chess, and there is something that was uniquely satisfying about just being like, I don't have to deal with this like complicated 1v1 mind game that is chess, and instead I can just hop my little king forward a couple spots and just fire away and blast away the entire other side. And it was fun.
Something we didn't mention at the top that we probably should have is that this game was the winner of Ludum Dare 50. I don't know the dates on Ludum Dare 50. It was pretty recent. It was one of them. If it's not the most recent Ludum Dare, because they do those about I think twice a year now, then it is one of the more recent ones. And as far as I can tell, the version of this that was part of Ludum Dare, meaning that was developed by this small team of 3 people in, I think, 72 hours, looks fairly complete. They added a nice CRT shader on top of it, and maybe I'm sure they tweaked it and refined it.
You heard it here first, folks. Reagan thought the CRT shader was nice.
This is a pretty good one. It's a pretty good one, to be honest. But like, I am astonished that this game was as complete as it was as a Ludum Dare submission. Obviously, it won Ludum Dare because they really struck gold with their like their pitch, but also their mechanics here. Like, they really came up with something kind of genius. But it's interesting to see that this is from a developer called Punk Cake Delicieux. I might be pronouncing that wrong. I believe it's French for delicious. And they are a small development duo that have a kind of a model where they do a Patreon and release a game every month as for their Patreon subscribers, which I've seen a few other small developers do things like that. But to be honest, like taking a look at their other games, like these seem more complete and like more, there's more game to these games than any other developer kind of taking this approach that I've seen. So I'm really impressed that this came out of this like, incredibly tight timeline. Not only are these people producing a game every month, but here they produced essentially this game in 72 hours. And they continue to do that. They've come out with another game since this one. They've have at least 10 games up on their itch page. This is a really impressive game, but it's also impressive to see this just as a part of a body of work from a really indie here. It's really cool.
I kind of have some Ludum Dare specific questions that maybe you can fill me in on.
I probably can't, but feel free.
Well, sure. One of the things I noticed when I looked up Ludum Dare, I was looking at the history of the winners, is that they list both compo winners and jam winners. And I guess that's something that started with the ones back in like 2011 and it continues today. This one is considered a jam winner. I don't understand the difference. Oh, well, hold on. I think I might have some info here.
I used to know this. I'm trying to remember the distinction, and it's one of those things that I believe it has to do with just like following a different set of rules. And maybe you can tell me if I'm right. I think that the jam winners have to create their game start to finish within the 72 hours, and then the compo winners, they have like a looser set of submission rules or something like that.
I think it's the opposite.
Oh, okay.
I think it's the opposite here. I think it says a more relaxed version of the jam. Wait. No, this might be the case. The jam, which allows development teams private source code and extended development time of 72 hours, takes place concurrently with the solo competition or the compo. Okay, so it's the jam is you can have your friends and you get.
Gotcha. Well, very impressive. And honestly, like I hear a little bit about stuff coming out of Ludum Dare every now and then, but it's rare that a game like pops out of Ludum Dare like ready for the show, so to speak. That's not to say that there's like not full, interesting, complete games coming out of Ludum Dare. People are creating incredible stuff for that every time they do one of those comps. But I don't know, like looking back over the last few years of comp winners here, I haven't played any of these.
I played Columns. That was the jam winner in April 2021, and that was really cool. It was it's almost hard to explain. It's like a falling block puzzle that like evolves as you play it in an interesting way. I don't know. It's kind of easy to spoil. I think you should just check it out.
Cool. Yeah, looking at it, it just looks like columns from the screenshots, but there's something more going on here.
Yeah, there's a lot more going on. You kind of keep going with it, and the game like shifts over time and is unrecognizable by the end.
That's actually that's really cool. I want to check that out now. I mean, Ludum Dare stuff, like you see of game that won Ludum Dare, like it probably won for a reason. It's probably not boring. But
did either of you ever participate or at least be aware of something like the 24-hour film festival?
I participated in one once many years ago when I was in the sort of community theater era of my life. And,
same.
To be honest, I don't even remember what we made. It's been a long time.
So I bring that up because that's kind of similar to this, in that the whole point is the time constraints and like the games or the films or whatever are made with that sort of expectation, and fans of the games or the movies or whatever also are going in with that expectation that part of the whole point of playing them and part of the whole thrill of it is to see what someone can come up with in a really short time. So the 24-hour film festival is pretty big, and I can't think of a single one that's ever actually broken out and done anything other than been good at that film festival. But they'll use those often as places to like do a short that maybe inspires a longer work later. And sometimes you can see some interesting creators who participate in those, but I think by design you're not really creating much that is intended for like the mainstream market. So to say all that, I agree with you, Reagan. Like, this game, even if it, I think someone could play it and not know that it was.
If there had been like
made.
a Devolver Digital logo during the boot up sequence of this game, I would not have felt surprised. It has the feeling of like a full ass release with a like, this is a game ass game. I believe they self-published it on Steam. But like you could easily see this with like a, one of the bigger indie publishers, and it would be right at home. Like this is a really well done, polished thing, and top to bottom.
The only thing I think it's missing, and I think this is again an extension of its creation, is that there's no stats. Give me the stats. I don't know if you like.
That's a good point.
When you win, it just starts right over. This game does have a story, which is funny, and it does have a boss at the end, which is funny. And so they got all the critical pieces that you'd want from something like this, but when it's done and you win, you get a little cutscene, and then it goes right to the beginning. There are different. There's 2 different modes. There's Throne, which is you have to win. There's 12 floors. The 12th floor has a boss, and and then there's Endless, which is what it sounds like. With Throne, you start out with easy mode and normal mode, and then as you win, you unlock additional hard modes. That basically add more modifiers, negative modifiers to your knight or to your king, like starting with less ammo, starting with less movement, things like that. But the one thing I wanted to know, how many runs did I do? Like how many kills did I get? How many victories? Just that normal stuff that you get in most roguelikes at this point. This isn't really a complaint because I understand where this game came from, and it's truly incredible that they made it in 72 hours. But I would love for a patch to give me that, because that's also one of the fun things about a roguelike like this, is just to see the stats, what cards you took, look at run history, things like that. I would love to have that. And I don't know if they're continuing development on this game at all, or if they're making
a game every month, maybe not.
Yeah, probably not, and that's fine.
Although obviously this seems like a hit for them, at least at least a minor hit. So maybe they will expand and continue. They've clearly continued to patch it. Looking at the like change log and everything, they've added at least like a half a dozen new languages. Translations. They've continued to add like bug fixes and other patches. So I don't know if there's like new content incoming, but it's not, it's not one and done, dropped and moved on. They've continued to do stuff to this for dozens of fixes, dozens of patches here. So
yeah. I don't know that, again, this is even way more complicated, but I would love it if you could do like an actual multiplayer where one person's the shotgun king and the other person has like the white board.
Oh man, that's a really good idea. I know like online multiplayer is
it's
hard.
A whole thing. You have servers and all of that. But I was just like, ooh, this would be fun. It would be fun to be either side, try to so I really enjoyed this game, and I got to the I'm working my way up through the difficulty.
Yeah. Nate, Shane suggested that we play this game for the show, and I'm not sure what the actual timeline was, but it really felt like 6 hours later, Nate was like, "I beat it" in the Discord.
Well, this is exactly my wheelhouse. I'm horrible at so many of the games that we do, but these sort of turn-based strategy games built off a chess, like this was
with roguelike elements.
Was exactly for me. I actually spent. I went spent some time with my family this weekend, and I played a lot of actual real chess over that weekend too. So my mind was all on chess over the last few days, and I think I won my first run, or my first run was, what am I trying to say? The first run that ended in a win was probably around 15 to 20 tries, and then hard mode took a lot more than that. And I finished that right before we recorded, but I'm going to try to win it on the more difficult settings. It's hard, and I think it's awesome. I'm really glad.
That's awesome. I had a lot of fun with it, even though I was and still am really bad at it. And it's one of those games that I definitely see myself, I put this on my Steam Deck. I'm going to be popping this up to play a run every now and then. I was worried because sometimes point and click things. This is really a mouse driven game. There's no controller support. but it was fine on the Steam Deck, and it's fine. It's very simple mouse movements are required, so you can play this one-handed, no problem. So yeah, it's a really awesome game, and I'm really glad we checked it out for the show. Even though I am abysmal at it, I think I'm going to continue plugging away at it, and hopefully I'll improve. Maybe my completely atrophied chess skills will come back to me, and I'll get better at it.
Have you guys played any other like battle chess games?
I remember battle chess, but wasn't battle chess essentially just like chess but with animations that took forever every time you moved a piece? Like it was just regular chess rules, right?
I guess I'm thinking these like takes on classic games. I was talking to a buddy of mine who I haven't played this, but he said there's a like a Scrabble battle royale game, where you're trying to combine words like Scrabble, but it's also battle royale, like these twists on classic games. I don't know. I haven't played many, but this game made me think of like, are there other games that take the rules that we all know and
I think the developer to look to for that kind of thing is Zach Gage. Have you played any of his games? I don't think we've ever covered any on the show. I've been playing. Shane actually talked about what is it? Word. What's his like weird crossword thing that we've been playing? Shane, what's it called again?
It's called Not Words, and it's very much like crosswords, except rather than having clues, it just kind of takes the sort of crossword puzzle and breaks it up into small zones, and every zone might have like 2 to 5 squares in it, and you'll know which letters appear somewhere in those squares without knowing any specifics.
In a way, it's kind of like crossword, but with a little bit of elements of like Minesweeper or something.
Very much a Sudoku. Element.
He also has a Sudoku game called Good Sudoku that I haven't played because I'm not really into Sudoku, but it's apparently one of the better Sudoku games. He has a game called Really Bad Chess, which is like micro twists on chess. There's no shotgun, but if you like the idea of
I think that's what I was thinking of when I said like battle chess or whatever. Really bad chess.
Really bad chess, yeah. And right now, I like on my play date, I was just before we recorded playing. He has a game called Snack, which is his twist on Snake, the classic Snake game for Nvidia. What am I talking about? Nokia smartphones or what have you. And it plays just like the Snake you remember, except it adds a jump button. And also so you can jump over your tail. And also nice. There's these little enemies that look like apples with teeth that are coming after your snake. And if they get onto your snake, they will climb up your body to your head and then eat you. And so if you have one of them on you, you have to like in a frenzy and panic, jump onto your own body and eat the apple before it gets to your head. It's a brilliant little twist on Snake. And I've been really, really enjoying it. But like Zach Gage has a real talent for this, with the like coming up with a weird twist on a classic that brings something new. But yeah, there's definitely lots of other developers that do that same kind of thing. But like Zach, when I think of that, I think of Zach Gage. Do we have anything left to say about Shotgun King before we wrap it up and maybe do a what's making us happy?
No, pretty simple as far as what there is to talk about. I think
great
we covered
story
most of it. Yeah, it really is. It's very funny.
Has a lot to say about gun culture in America, I think. A lot to say about royalty, themes of racial themes, black versus white. Sorry. No, man.
No, everyone's like, wait, is he joking or?
It's chess. There's a shotgun. Jesus. Although I will say that the little intro sequence is really kind of cute and funny. I don't know if this is. I don't think it's a quote from the in-game, but like on the page on Itch, it says, "The Black King has been dispossessed of everything except their royal shotgun. His wrath shall be his undoing, yet he cares not. In his dark folly, bits of white pieces will fly." It has a very sort of self-serious, funny intro. That's pretty great. And speaking of itch.io, this game is available on Steam and itch. I believe it is Windows only, unless I'm mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're buying this, I did mention Steam and itch. It's on itch, and it comes with a Steam key there. So if you're the sort of person that cares about having a Steam key, you can make sure your money is going directly to the developer, that they're getting a bigger slice of that pie. And if you buy it on itch, and there's no downsides, you get a Steam key as well. So double dipping. Right now it is $5.40, which is a whopping 10% off of its $6 MSRP. And this is a easy win at $6. That's this is a really fun game for $6. So I would definitely recommend people check this out. And since we still got a little bit of time left on our clock, let's do what's making us happy this week. Nate, what's making you happy this week?
Well, besides killing the king, as I said, I spent some time with my family over the weekend, and it is incredibly hot here in St. Louis, like 110-degree heat index.
What?
70% humidity. It's like,
okay, wait, Nate. Okay, you're inflating things here. Heat index. What does the actual thermometer say, Nate? Because we live in Houston, Texas, where it is hot as balls all the time. And I have a moral superiority. When people start telling me that it's hot, I always have to simply say, no, it's not. You don't know what hot is. So, Nate, how hot is it really?
Oh, I hope I don't get that treatment. But it's been sitting between 99 to 103 with heat indexes.
Okay, that's pretty hot. I can't give you a hard time there, Nate.
And it's the humidity. It's like walking out into a mouth. It's horrible. So we went to a water park.
Oh,
and
nice.
It was nice. It made me happy. I haven't been to a water park in like 15 years. And we were there mostly with the kids, and we were in the kid part, but it was nice. So that water park made me happy.
Awesome. I didn't know there was a water park near St. Louis. Where did you go?
We were down at the Lake of the Ozarks.
Okay.
Which every time I say that, people want to ask if it's like Ozark, the show, which I've not watched, but I'll say
I don't know the show, so I won't ask you that question.
Meth and horrible things. And yes.
Awesome.
So,
good to know.
But no, the water park was great, and it was nice. So that made me happy. It's really what I was up to the last week.
Well, we were talking a little bit before the show, and Nate was mentioning that he had been playing some Tetris, and I also had been playing some Tetris. And so I thought I would make a quick recommendation as my what's making us happy this week, because I've been playing a lot of Tetris on. I have a Miu Mini, which is like a little handheld retro game emulator console thing that fits in a pocket really easily. It's smaller in one dimension even than the Playdate, although it's thicker, but it's really nice and pocketable. And so I've been whipping that out to play little games like Tetris a lot. And I was looking for what is a good version of Tetris that will run on this device. And I guess I've become spoiled over the years by the new Tetrises and their various upgraded features, right? So my first thought was I used to love the original Game Boy Tetris. I'm going to download that, and that's what I'm going to play on this thing. And I started playing that a little bit, and I couldn't get into it because the original Game Boy Tetris is very old. It is lacking a lot of the things that you expect in modern Tetrises, right? You get used to having things like I don't know what they call all the features because I'm not a Tetris nerd, but things like the sort of unlimited or at least lengthy sort of spin period when a piece hits, where you can continue spinning it before it locks into place for a while, or the ability to lock it, save a piece, the hold feature. And there's other stuff too. The older Tetrises like NES Tetris and Game Boy Tetris don't have those things. Newer Tetrises all do. And so I was I wonder, and I wasn't really happy with the slightly more modern Game Boy Advance Tetris. And so I started looking around for what are my options here? And I have 2 great Tetris recommendations for people if you are playing Tetrises on anything, but especially if you are trying to run them on an old game emulator or on maybe real hardware on a flash card or something. The first one is the Rosy Retrospection ROM hack for Game Boy Tetris. Some very smart people have hacked a bunch of modern Tetris features into the original Tetris for Game Boy. So it looks, sounds, and plays almost identical to the original Tetris Game Boy. You start by like getting a original Game Boy Tetris ROM and you patch it with this ROM hack. But it adds a bunch of improvements. It implements, I'm just reading from their list of features here. It implements super rotation system, shadow piece. That's a thing where you have a little piece at the bottom where you can see where your piece is going to fall. 3 previews, so you can't just see what piece is coming next. You can see 3. You can use the select button to hold a piece. So you press select and it holds a piece till later. A bunch of other stuff that I don't know what it means, like 7-bag with new pseudo random number generator. I don't know what 7-bag means in Tetris terminology.
It's better than 6-bag,
right? It adds the hard drop. Like, I didn't realize that original Tetris didn't have the hard drop, but this adds it. Tons of little fixes as well. It's awesome. And it still looks and like has all of the like feeling of the original Tetris. So like if you're nostalgic for original Tetris, but you actually want to play a Tetris that feels worth playing today, Rosy Retrospection, just it's an incredible ROM hack. It's like a complete reworking of the original Game Boy Tetris. I'm really, really impressed with it. Doesn't feel hacky at all. It just feels like, hey, this is how this always was, except then you go back and play the original. You're like, wait, no. And then if for some reason that doesn't work for you, there's another version that I found for the Game Boy Advance. It's on itch.io. Somebody created a brand new Tetris game for the Game Boy Advance called Apotris, Apotris. I do not like the Game Boy Advance Tetris options. None of them were really very good, in my opinion. But this is one of the best Tetris games I've ever played. It's kind of fast. So I don't know, it kind of might depend on your feeling about like how fast you like your Tetris games to play. But this is like a really nice modern Tetris that isn't a ROM hack based on an original one. It is a totally brand new game that somebody made that is like a really nice brand new Tetris game that you can download on itch.io as a name your price thing, and then put it on your Game Boy Advance or thing that can run Game Boy Advance ROMs, and it runs. It's awesome. So I was recommending both of those for Tetris interested persons. That is the Rosy Retrospection hack for Tetris and Apotris for the Game Boy Advance.
Reagan, Tetris interested persons is your best new construction since you described all of us as time interested gamers.
I'm realizing I have a habit of making this incredibly shitty, I don't know what you call that, phraseology. I'm sorry to everyone who has to listen to this
I
podcast.
love it. Please do not stop. I am a Reagan interested listener.
No. If I was, if I had to make a dating app profile, I think it'd definitely be time interested gamer would be,
Jesus,
pretty high up on my bio.
I'm gonna have to change mine. Shane, what's making you happy this week?
Well, I'm gonna kind of list a few things. These are all minor, but they're coming together to make me very happy. The first is I've been going back through the short game catalog. Listeners with a keen ear might have noticed that I am not on every episode, and there are some of the games that I really wanted to play and I didn't get to, and the ones that I really am excited about right now. I'm playing through Bug Snacks. And
you are?
Yes,
I
am.
Bug Snacks.
And my son is, I'm playing through it with him, and he loves it. He's right at that kind of. I knew he would like it when he started getting really into Pokemon and like going around and collecting things and like knowing the names of all the little monsters is a like. It's a skill that 4-year-olds have just developed and are eager to put into practice. One question about that for those of you, because he when trying to explain to him what a bug snack is, kind of bug and kind of snack, I think I gave an example of like, well, imagine like a butterfly, but the wings are buttered toast. And he thought that was so funny. But now he's been begging me to find the butterfly whose wings are buttered toast. And it seems like such low-hanging fruit for this game to have such a butterfly, but I still haven't found one. Is there a butterfly that is toast in bug snacks? I thought I was close with the Cheepoof, but that's a butterfly that's made of cheesy poofs.
There's something called a flutter jam. It's not buttered toast. It is.
It might not count. This is a very, very particular child.
I can imagine.
I'm gonna have to write the developers.
Wait, one of another Kelly being incredibly particular. No way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I it can't be my son. No. So anyway, the other things that I'm absolutely loving right now, I'll just list one more, which is you might be aware of a company called Big Ass Fans.
I am indeed.
I am. Yes.
Yes. They have excellent marketing and a terrific name. They sell exactly what it says in the name, Big Ass Fans. When I was a kid, my uncle had a big ass fan that he would keep near his pool for when people were hanging out. And if you are right now, Nate, in the middle of like outdoors is like literally the like sweat collects on your body. Big ass fans are awesome, but big ass fans are also expensive. And so I have a little hack that I want to suggest to people, and that is that you should go to your local Lowe's or other hardware store and see if you can pick up a commercial electric worksite fan. And this is my new standard equipment for any outdoor event or party. I've been doing a lot of outdoor gatherings. First it was the pandemic, and now it's just what I love to do. Fighting that Texas heat, getting like a 42-inch gigantic drum fan, that comes up past your waist, you roll it out on wheels and you just put it in the corner of the party and flip that stuff on. That is the truth, man. That was my
I'm so impressed with you, Shane. I would not have thought to buy one of these, but now I really want one.
Yeah, it is great. And I will give another specific recommendation, which is look for the ones that are belt driven, because apparently those are quieter. Because the one downside to getting the Home Depot or Lowe's branded worksite fan, the ones that are made for actual construction sites, is they are not as quiet as the fancy branded big ass fan. But if you get the ones that are a belt driven one, you can get some. They're a lot quieter. The only downside to these is they only seem to make them in traffic cone orange. So maybe that doesn't work with your decor. I personally didn't care that much. Get yourself a big ass fan, whether or not it is the specific branding big ass fan.
That's a really good tip. I'm impressed with you, Shane. Good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We just recently got a battery operated fan for our backyard, which has been really nice because it's portable, but it's not big. But it is helpful for besides it being Satan's butt crack outside, it also is full of mosquitoes around here. So a fan is a great way to deal with mosquitoes. So I should look at one of these big ass fans, though.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of The Short Game. You have found our show on a podcast platform. If that podcast platform allows you to write reviews,
it does,
as many of them do. We would really appreciate if you did that. It helps people find the show. It helps the show grow. And it's the second best way to support us. The first best way to support us is to go
emotionally.
To Patreon. Yes, that too. Is to go to patreon.com/theshortgame, where you'll find all of our fine patrons supporting the show at even just $1 a month. And all of them get access to our Discord, which is where we talk about the show. We plan episodes. We chat about unrelated topics as well. It's just a good place to hang on the internet if you need a nice, calm little corner with some people who are time-interested gamers.
The third best way to support us is to find Reagan on Bumble, where he's looking for other Tetris-interested people.
Yes. Let's see. Anything else? You can find our show on the internet at www.theshortgame.net, which is where you'll find our searchable show notes page, as well as a bunch of other ways to contact us. A link to our Twitter @_shortgame and all of that stuff. Hit us up with game recommendations if you'd like. We are eager to hear them. This is a good time for them as well. And you can find me on Twitter @RayganK. That's RayGanK. Nate, where can people find you?
On Twitter @NateSTL.
And Shane, where can people find you?
Also on Twitter @8BitShane.
And thank you once again for joining us on this episode of The Short Game.